And we're back. All right, awesome. Hey, everybody, welcome back to Tavern Talks. This is the show where we interview people from around the TTRPG community, ask them weird and funky questions, and find out what's going on in the world. So tonight, you can see Chuck has changed. I don't know what happened. It's poof, different person. Anyway, no, we had Chuck's stepped away for the night, and what a better way to present a upcoming thing that we're doing this later this week than bring one of them on the show. So not only do I have Tiffany from Red Rose, I also have Nicole back from Game Master Mom and the Tales of Etheria, which more stuff is going to be found out about that later. Good night, bud. Love you. Oh, here we come. Kids.
It's love it. It's adorable.
He is. He's trouble though. Big trouble. They all are.
They all.
I was like, they all are.
Always.
All right. So before we kick off the show and kind of start diving into random questions that lead into ridiculously long rabbit holes that we'll catch up with sooner or later, just give us kind of a quick who you are, what you do in the TTRPG space, and we'll start from there.
Awesome. Well, I am Tiffany Rose Nickel, or Turn TR Nickel as my author name. I started my crazy journey into the creative world because of a little game called Dungeons and Dragons. I played
Who would have
it,
thought?
fell in love, and decided to write an entire book series because I didn't get to finish the campaign. So I got a little hyper fixated, just a little bit. Spent 5 years building a world just so I could do it. But it led me to getting into gaming conventions. I've been a big nerd in terms of that my whole life. But I then started making games because of my love for them, such as with my business partner, Jerry Red Shepherd, the Red of the Red Rose Works. And we created Dungeon Race RPG, which is a faction-raced RPG system where we love to pin all the players against one another, scalable from 6 people around a single game table at home up to 36 people at a competitive con event. We launched it last year at Gen Con, and it was crazy. We've had hundreds of players walk through it. It was a lot of fun, and we're still running it. We're actually bringing it back to Gen Con. Love the kiddos. We're bringing it back to Gen Con this year, and I think we're pretty much sold out on tickets, which is pretty cool.
Oh, shucks.
Yeah, you might be able to look. Legends of Limoria or the Limorian Legends may still be available, but we also have our one-page dice dungeons system as well, which is everything you need to know how to play the game is literally on one page. And it's all agnostic, so you can play it with any setting. You can play the mechanics with any setting, or you can play the setting with any mechanic. So it's super like easy to jump into. The premise was you got 10 minutes to learn how to play the game, and then you're running it. And we've tested that out at a few cons, and it does. People like that. You can just learn everything in less than 10 minutes and create your character from scratch and all of that. But outside of creating the games, I also game write for other companies as well. So Gaxworks, I work in their Okram world with the G20 Magazine. Yeah. Which is really fun. Super, super cool. Check out their Patreon if you guys want to want to check those adventures out. And then working close with Chaosium on a few things that I can't talk about. And then 6D6 Studios, Cosmo Joe, where me and Jerry are actually building out the Mid-Realm, Arpex Legends world in narrative stories.
Oh, wow.
bringing it from the game table into books.
There you go. That's how you
Oh,
do
that's
it.
so
It
cool.
is cool.
That's a lot that came out of my mouth, so I
A lot
apologize
is
to the
And I'm
good.
like,
random.
man, she's busy. She's
She's
doing so many
busy.
things.
Yeah. I always
And I
say,
understand.
I'm busy. And then I hear all these people. I'm like, I'm not busy.
Right.
No,
um,
I'm just insane. You're probably busy. I'm just literally crazy.
I feel
no,
like that's how it goes with writing stuff, though. It's like once you dip your toe in, then like all of a sudden you're like, oh, I'm writing 10 different projects at the same time right now. How did that happen?
Yeah,
I've
you're
done that with
sending
game
around.
mastering. I've done that with writing. Like, it's a lot.
Mhm.
I will say, like, for me personally, it started to affect like the day-to-day life. And I was like, ooh, I kind of back that up a little bit. Now, we were talking off stream. Tiffany has the luxury of doing this full time. So that is an awesome part of this.
Only way I could do it.
Only way you can do this. Yeah. Which that might be kind of like the give for you on that one. It's like, I could do all that, but I would never sleep. You
Yeah,
can do that because you also don't have an 8-hour workday that I have to deal with too.
correct. Yeah.
Um, but it's definitely a dream. You know, that would be something that I think a lot of people would want to get to at one point in their lives. But it takes a lot of work, as you can tell, because she just rattled off 60,000 things in like 30 seconds. It's
This month
crazy.
alone,
This month alone.
I will have written over 200,000 words in this month alone.
Yeah, okay. Well, that's why you have to do it full time because that is a full-time job.
That is a
Yes,
full-time
yes, it
job,
is.
right?
Yeah. So
But what a cool opportunity to do so.
Yeah. It is amazing. I feel very blessed to do so. People think I'm crazy, but to be honest, when you're so passionate about the thing that you do, it's still work. It will always be work in terms of that, but it feels like it has more value for me.
Mm,
Those hours don't feel as long as if, I was back working the bank job or the
right.
insurance job, where,
Yes.
doing 60 hours in a week was like murder,
Yeah.
But now I'm pushing 60 hours or more to do my job of
Yeah.
creating. And that just changes the perspective of the willingness to do the work I do.
Oh yeah, right. Like
That's
it's
my
awesome.
Bon Jovi, so forgive him.
Oh, hi.
He gets all jealous when I'm talking to the camera because he's thinking, why aren't you talking to me?
Yeah. Oh,
Yeah,
yep.
that's
There he
okay.
is. It's just like, what can I jump onto now and tear down? Yep. There it
Yeah,
goes.
I'm gonna jump on top of that huge stack of books. I think I can
It's
make
just
it.
all
Yeah.
gonna come.
Yeah. It's that cat mentality. Just you're not paying attention to me. Well, then I'll just do this, and all the books will fall, and I'll be happy because you'll look at me
Yeah.
then.
Yeah.
Yes. Well, Tiffany, it's great to have you on the show. Tonight, I'm going to start off by asking you 3 questions. Nicole's already heard these 3 questions. Ask all the guests that come in. And you've kind of given us a glimpse of it, but we're going to kind of dive into it a little more. So the first question, because I ask every question one at a time because people just can't keep up with 3 questions at once. And me included. If you ask me 3 questions, I'll answer the last one. That's it. I don't get the first 2. They just disappear. So the first question is, when did you get involved with TTRPGs?
I was 13 years old, I
Okay.
believe. The first version of D&D I ever played was 2.5.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. That was but it was not the first RPG I ever played. It was Call of Cthulhu, actually.
Really?
Yeah,
good one.
Call of Cthulhu was my first one.
Wow.
And I'm a big horror fan.
Yeah. I know.
I don't give that at all, but in terms of my personality, but I love horror. And so Call of Cthulhu like morphed my brain, and the horror stories that I have published, people are like, do you play Call of Cthulhu? And I'm like, I do.
Actually, not only do I play, I write for them. So for those that don't know, Chaosium is the creator of Call of Cthulhu as a TTRPG, and they are amazing company.
Mhm. Oh, incredible. Jeff Richard, the team that he has, just absolutely incredible people.
Yeah. Yeah, there is rumor that I might be running for them next year. We'll see. Who knows?
Yay! That would
Yeah.
be fun.
Ooh.
Yeah. They tried to um corral me to going to Chaosium Con 2 weeks after Gary Con, and I was like,
That's what happened to me. But I went.
yeah, well, you had a booth and you lived a lot closer too.
It's
Um,
true. It's
yeah,
true.
like I would have had
Uh,
to fly. So, but yeah, no. And I would have, I almost, like, I was this close to going to. I was like, can I pull it off? Can I
it's
not?
fun. You should go. You should go.
I'm going next year. It's already planned. So the, the, the throw up for this year was the fact that I don't have a lot of extra time to do stuff because my son and I have a martial arts trip to Thailand in October. So yeah, so that's a week long. So that's a week of my only 3.5 weeks of leave that I get from work. So kind of got to use that this year. Um, but yeah, Chaosium is definitely in our books. We're also looking at doing some streams for them as well because they're awesome.
Yeah.
But yeah, back on track. Yeah. Uh,
This is what we do.
this is what I do, right?
You said rabbit holes. It was
Yeah,
pretense, you know?
yeah, I do. I gotta make sure I come back from the rabbit hole though, because otherwise I'm gone. Like that's why Chuck is here, but Nicole's not used to that, so I gotta make sure I do it to myself.
Right. Okay. I didn't understand that was part of my role that I need to reel you back in, James. I'll work on that.
No, it's fine because I know you're gonna be very similar to me and dive down whatever rabbit hole you're
It's gonna
interested
be a
in
rabbit
too.
hole of the show. It's gonna be great.
Yeah, we might not even make it all the way up the rabbit hole, get like a quarter of the way up, and then find another hole and dip that way too.
Yeah.
So what really caught your attention for the difference between and it's kind of the question I ask is, and I'm trying to figure out the best way to word this always, is when did that moment click with you of you're like, oh, this is not just a game or this is not just me writing. This is something that I'm passionate about and I really enjoy. And I don't want to I don't want to lose it. And why?
I would say for gaming in particular, I think it was meeting Jerry, and working alongside her in the process of Dungeon Race RPG I was like, this is incredible. Not only do I get the opportunity to, experience a brand new game system as it's being created and being morphed and being changed and written, but I also get to be part of that, in terms of the creation process. And, having been a writer, and a gamer, those two worlds were always kind of separate, in my mind, but this married them. And so my greatest hobbies and passions suddenly came together. And so working with her in creating Dungeon Race RPG, it solidified that I was like, I want to do this for the rest of my life, without a doubt. Like I want to be a game writer and I want to create and be a part of the industry.
That's awesome. Nicole's over there gonna cry.
I know, I'm like, it's so beautiful. Yeah, I mean, this is not my gig. I'm just here to help out, but I'm a writer and a game designer as well, but I'm on like the very beginning end of it. It's definitely not full-time work for me. So I'm like, oh, it's goals, it's inspiration.
You can do it. You can do it.
It's like I thought about a person that might be useful with this idea. That's why I put the two of you to
Matchmaking.
Matchmaking in heaven.
I love it.
So what was the first thing that caught your eye about gaming though? Specifically, when you first were you 13? Did you play the game a couple times and then kind of put it away for a while? Like what went from the idea of like, hey, this is kind of a cool game to like, I want to keep playing?
Yeah.
And why?
I mean, I grew up with like 10 boys, I got a big family, but because of that, gaming was a big part of growing up. you know, so it was video games mostly. You know, I bought my first system I ever bought was a Nintendo 64, you know. I still have my Game Boy Color, you know,
Yes,
like the
nice.
yeah. And that gaming love of just it being video games, I always had a really good imagination. So playing board games, in which board games led to TTRPGs,
Ah, okay.
it it
You caught the gateway drug.
yeah,
Let's go
yeah.
that way.
Yeah, it never faltered. You know, I the having the imagery first didn't deter when I eventually made it to
Mhm.
TTRPGs. It in fact actually made me more in love with it because I wasn't just being fed something like an image or a person. I got to create that in my own mind.
Okay.
Make believe is something I've done since I was a child, and I
Mhm.
can still do it to this day. It's why I'm the best aunt in the world. Is I love to play make believe.
There you
Um,
go.
and if they want to chase zombies in the yard, there's zombies out there. Don't you fret. I see I see them on the tree line. You know, and
Oh, I
so
love it.
it really just allowed it gave me an excuse to play pretend with my friends, versus it being, oh, Tiffany's just crazy. You know, she's chasing
Yeah.
Pokemon in the backyard.
Yeah. Why not?
You know, like, and I would get all my neighborhood kids, like, I was the oldest, so I was like the leader of the pack
Oh,
growing up.
okay.
So I'd get them all into doing my crazy little scheme of like, you have to sense the Pokemon. It exists.
The
You have to
matriarch
see it. Yeah,
of the neighborhood.
just make them all crazy.
It's awesome.
Um,
Yeah.
but yeah, we would play make believe, and I kept that. You know, I oftentimes you're told growing up like you're too old for this, like you need to start
Mhm.
living in reality, and
Yeah.
I was like, sorry,
I'm,
but my life
yeah.
is books and you know, like, and games, and I was like, I don't ever want to give that up, and
Yeah.
so I just kept that little kid in me alive, and
No,
gaming was the tool for that.
I get a my coworkers at work, so I do IT for a living,
Mhm.
and one of my coworkers says, No, no, no." He always tells me, he goes, "No, no, you don't live here. You live in the fantasy world, and you come here to do your job, and then you go back to the fantasy world." I'm like, you know what? I'm just gonna let that one go. Like, I'm good with that. I'm good with that.
Mhm.
I like that.
Um, and my son's getting into it, and we did a game just a couple weeks ago, and it was like, hey, here's all these fun terrain pieces. Build me something, and we're going to run a story out of it. And I have no idea what we're going to do yet.
Nice.
And I thought was going to last 45 minutes and last 2.5 hours. And I was like, whoa, this actually worked. Like, that was awesome. um, so, and I'll admit that's kind of the catalyst that got me to really start looking into things like Etheria, because I saw my kids' excitement. Like, I saw that change in them to say, oh, wow, I can still have an imagination. I can still be creative. And I'm always that person, especially with my son, is I'm like, hey, what do you want to build? What do you want to create? What do you want to do? And we do Legos, we do model kits, we do terrain, we do paint, like
I love that.
all of it. Um, his painting actually might be better than mine. Just saying.
We need
um,
to see a side-by-side comparison soon.
Yeah,
I'll have to get that. I don't have
yeah,
anything
like
on me right now.
put on your story.
Yeah, I'll put it on my story. Um, but that has kind of been my drive as well. And mine kind of came back because I had it as a child and I had it as a teenager. And then I fell into life, right? Like, we all kind of get those walls, or at least most of us do. Some people get lucky and they don't ever have to get out of the wall at all, and then they just live this life 100%. Um, but I love how you said that. You're like, it gave me the opportunity to continue to create. And I think that is something that a lot of people lose. And we see that as part of the sadness of the world right now, right? Like, nobody has that excitement. Nobody has that creative spark to want to just go make something.
Mhm.
And that to me is huge.
Yeah.
Mhm.
So 13-year-old Tiffany
Oh man.
hanging out at some D&D, playing your first character. When did going from playing a character go to creating worlds? And going behind the screen.
Oh yeah. So I
And
didn't
if you
play.
say like 13 in like 2 months, like I get it, but like let's try.
Uh, so I didn't play D&D until I think I was 18.
Okay.
And that's because forgive me, my perception. I played Call of Cthulhu and other TTRPGs because it was like a board game, but like a video game. Like, it was like Skyrim, but like no visual.
No
Like
visual,
that's
right?
yeah. But I D&D had a very certain perception around it when I was growing up. And so I steered clear of it because I thought it wasn't for me. I thought that was not my community. That was 40-year-old men living in their mom's basements. Like that was the
Yep.
world that I thought it was. And like I would have been cast out the moment I even tried to look into it until I came across a show called Critical Role, and I saw all these nerdy ass voice actors in the game of D&D.
Wow,
And
I just dated myself. Goodness gracious.
and
Ooh.
it was back when I had seen the Dungeons and Dragons cartoon like on TV. Actually, that's like when my TV turns on, it is the Dungeon and Dragons TV channel. Like that.
There's a Dungeons and Dragons TV channel and I don't
Yes,
know
there
about
is,
it.
and they
What?
run the old cartoons over and over again.
Okay, we'll talk
That's
about
so
this
cute.
afterwards, but
Yes,
like I
sorry,
need to know what
rabbit
that
hole.
channel is.
The rabbit hole. But anyway, I watched it and I said, "Oh my God, this is like, okay, maybe it is for people like me."
Yeah.
And so that's how I got into 2.5 eventually. And Zalia was my half elf ranger, and I was so obsessed with the backstory that I'd given her. I created the place called the Adamina clan, and it's essentially I wanted to live like an Ewok, but also as an elf. And so I recreated Endor.
Yes. Oh, I
Why
mean, why
not?
not?
Like,
That's a
But
great
I mean,
idea.
it's kind of like Mirkwood. I mean, we're just going back to Tolkien and go
Right.
to the forest of Mirkwood, so
Yeah,
we can roll it.
yeah, and so I wanted to recreate that feeling of like living in the trees, but I made it bigger than that. You know, they
Yeah.
weren't tree houses. This was a civilian, like this was
Civilization.
a civilization where they were outcasts. They didn't like how the government was being run, and so they segregated from it to live in a very dangerous place called the Vermilion Forest, where all the creepy crawlers and all the creatures essentially live because it's this massive like that takes up a country's worth of
Oh
territory.
wow.
It's a
Like just
massive,
That's
massive.
awesome. I'll move there. That sounds great.
Yeah. And they were able to strike a deal with King Torrin, who rules over Foza, to essentially become the bounty hunters of the Vermilion Forest. So they keep the perimeter safe. So they keep all the creatures inside, and if anything goes out, they hunt it, you know?
nice.
And that's all my
Yeah.
what a part of her backstory that eventually I warped to be what this is. That's now
Right.
the Legends of Limoria.
Ah.
But that whole premise of who she was, and that kind of story of that place, of the Adamina clan, I was like, I can't let this go. I was like, I need to finish the story. I need to tell it. And that desire, after the campaign got canceled, I think I was 19 or something, at the time, I just was like, I want to create a world. I said growing up, I read about like 40
Like you're
books.
like I was
Yeah.
like you kept a bookshelf.
Right. And I'm not joking, because I was a devourer of books, because I would read 3 in a day, because that's how fast I could read. The Hunger Games series, I literally think I did in a day and a half. Like
Wow.
it was like insane how like I consumed, and I was like, I've read so many worlds. I was like, there's no way that I can't do this. I
Right?
I have been so involved and absorbed into other people's worlds that I think I can do this. And so I just created a layout. I have the original map still. I have it in a safe because one day when I make it big, I'll auction it off for charity or something.
Yeah,
There you
auction it
go.
off at Gary
Yes.
Con.
Yeah, yeah. But it's the original sketch I did of Limoria. And I just started filling it with history. And I was in AP US history and Euro history and all of that like growing up in high school. And so I just dug in. I started studying more and focusing on why conflicts happened, and digging in even further. Like George Washington really started the, like American Revolution, but not because of that, but because of the French and Indian War.
Right.
Like it goes way back before even like the British and their taxes, right? And taxation actually started way back before then, when we were still just colonies and fighting a war that wasn't ours. And so there's a lot of history like that that I dug more into to create a really realistic world. And 5 years passed, and suddenly I have 5,000 years worth of history for a fictional place that I probably know better than real world history. and and as I was starting to actually write her story within that world, it just was so massive. And I was like, I did all of this for one person. This
One character.
sense. I was like, there has to be more than just her. She can't be the only legend that has ever existed in this timeline. And so that's how it became a series. And I actually rewrote her backstory, from what it originally was. And some of the characters that were in, like in the campaign that she would have known, they don't exist because I had
Ooh.
to rework everything to make it make sense, where now I could have more than just her. And yeah, it became a 5 book series instead of the one, where her book honestly could have been like a trilogy. But I wanted to expand further than that. I wanted everyone to be able to see the world in a different perspective, and walk in different people's shoes.
Right.
I love that. I love that it all came from like this campaign backstory, right? Like it started as this small seed and then grew into this huge world that you created. And that's so cool.
Yeah, yeah. I'm just a hyper fixator. Just become
I
obsessed.
mean,
I mean,
you do
I
what works
think
for you.
I think that kind of doesn't. I mean, that doesn't stem too much differently than how you created Etheria, though. Yours is
No,
just with
not
children.
really.
Yours was just with
That's
children.
I mean, mine is admittedly simpler because my kind of like seed was playing with my kids. So it's not, all that deep or complicated. All the books that I am currently writing are for children. So I try not to make it too deep, but there's some kind of like deeper backstory that I'm like, oh, maybe I'll do something adult with that someday. I don't know.
Writing for kids is still hard. It
It
may be
is.
simpler language, but that I feel like that takes a lot of brain power to do that, versus
Yeah.
writing in your natural language. You have to kind of think, okay, what are the simplest terms for this? And how do I
Mhm.
explain it where I don't have to over explain, but they could understand it in one line? I think you say it's not that deep or complicated. I'm give yourself more credit there because
I do I do tell people all the time. People are like, "Oh, what's the hardest part about writing a children's book?" And I'm like, "Honestly, for me, it's like using less words
yeah.
because my first book, I really want it to be a book that parents read to their children, and I know that parents don't have time to read like a 15-minute story to their kids. They just don't. We have some great stories that take that long to read. We never pick them up because it's like, oh God, no, not that book. That one's too long, right? Like at bedtime, ain't nobody got time for that. So I was like, it needs to be like
Mhm.
5 to 10 minutes max to read out loud. And it was so hard to take the story and the characters I wanted and condense them down to few enough words where it wouldn't take longer than 7 minutes to read out loud.
Yeah, no, that That's a skill.
Wow,
100%.
that is a skill. That's huge, right? Like, we kind of, when we're playing games like this, are, especially now that the game has evolved into this storytelling mentality, our goal is to elaborate and to build that emotion and to build all those details into the game. And like you're saying, it's like, I got 7 minutes maybe before my kid is passed out. Like, let's just
Yeah.
get this read. So yeah, it's got to be a challenge. Like, you're taking even a 30-minute game and shoving it into 7 minutes. I mean, really is what the project is, right? Or however
Yeah,
long the game has been.
basically. I'm super excited about the next two books I'm writing because they're like chapter books. I mean, they're still
Oh,
for elementary age kids, but at least I'm like, okay, I have more words this time. Thank God.
we've got 50 to 100 pages. We're good here. At least I've got this. It's like
Yeah.
Yeah.
couple little artistic depictions within the book, but nothing like I have to pay 600 artists to make all my artwork.
Yeah,
Yeah,
that is a benefit too. Yeah,
yeah,
writing a picture book is no joke when you're not a good artist because you really have to outsource a lot of work and time and energy to people who
yeah,
are good artists.
Yeah, finding an illustrator, I think, is probably one of the hardest parts of writing a kid's book. That's what's holding me up right now from publishing mine is because I just
Yeah,
haven't found the right illustrator for it. So it's like it takes time, and you'll sit on it for a while until you find that person.
well,
for sure.
I have over the last 3 years built a repertoire of people that I can reference to, depending on
Yeah.
the art style you're looking for. Because I think
Yeah.
I've got like I can think off the top of my head 6 people. I'm like, oh, I mean, depending on
Mm.
your style.
There you go.
Um,
This is a great connection then. I was
yeah,
gonna say
Good.
I have one, but I don't like sharing him. So
Well, yeah, because then you can't work
yeah,
on your
yeah.
stuff.
Oh,
But no,
technically you have 2
I do have
because
two. That's true.
the guy who's doing our stuff for the stream is still a very good artist.
Oh yeah, Trevor's
Yeah,
great. He
yeah,
does really good art too.
yeah. So, but yeah,
Okay,
we'll
but
get to
they're
that
both
at the
mine.
end.
No
They're
one
both
can have
yours.
Daniel or Trevor. They both belong to me. They belong to Etheria, okay?
Yeah, it's all right. We'll find out. I'm sure they can. They have other styles too. We don't have to go Ethereal style. Like,
We'll see.
we'll see.
These sound like fighting words to me. I'm ready to put up a fight.
yeah, no, my ideal look would be like the old school Penguin House style of kids books, where it's still really detailed, but it has that like grainy pencil, you know.
Mm,
And that's really hard to find now
yeah,
because
Mhm.
because it's a very
people,
old school style of artwork
right.
too.
I might have to give up that dream, but that's
Outsource European probably would be your best
yeah.
option. Because a lot of them still do a lot of old school
Yeah.
artworks and things like that. Now, mind you, probably not going to be cheap, but
I don't know. But I'm Jerry and I have very similar mindsets in the sense of like we want quality, and so sometimes we'll pay a higher dollar amount to obtain that, right?
absolutely.
Sometimes that means having to wait for a little bit.
Yeah.
Yes. Yeah. And that's
But
what you want. Like you want high quality people that really like jive with you and have the style and the feel because that I mean that'll ruin a project if it just
oh,
isn't jiving.
right.
I mean,
Yeah.
it's funny you say that because like we've even specifically targeted certain artists to do like our live streams the same way. Like we have one artist that's doing a very sketch-like style for our Lord of the Rings stream, but then we have a comic book artist that's doing all of our stuff for our Power Rangers stream. So it's very different. You have to make sure you get that right connection. But yeah, no, artwork is definitely one of those interesting like mini trades you have to understand because otherwise you're like, okay, how do I navigate this world?
It's very deeply intertwined with the gaming industry as well as narrative. So
Right.
regardless, if you're a writer, you need to know artists. It's
Mm-hmm.
two different mediums that want to do the same thing.
Right.
They want to show you what this world looks like, whether that's through words or through picture.
I like it. Well, I've done my 3 questions. What I'm going to do real quick, because she doesn't know I'm going to do it, I'm going to pass it over to her and let her ask if she has any questions.
Are you saying me?
As in you, yes, Nicole.
Oh yeah, I was like, there's 2 she's in this room for once. So which one are you asking?
You're right.
And by
Special
the
guest,
way, I'm
hidden
like,
guest.
yeah, I'm trying to be super cool about it, but I'm just like so stoked to be talking to another girl in this space because I feel like we are so few and far
That
between.
is very true.
And I'm like, more girls, yes,
Yeah.
girl power.
Yeah, band together for sure.
Yeah.
I do have
Yeah.
I have a goal, probably by next year or next year I want to do it. I've never ran an all women's table. Never.
Ooh.
Fun. I don't think I've ever played at an all women's table.
I have.
I don't know if I know enough women to do an all women's table.
I do now, but
Yeah,
it'll take me
I
some
think
time to gather everybody up.
now I'm thinking, I was like, to get them all at the same table would be really hard. But
Yeah.
I think I know the women, but I don't.
I mean, I had my Monday game had 3 in it at one point out of the 5 players. So I mean, it was definitely it was a more, which was way different for me. I wasn't used to it, and it was great. I learned so much about TTRPG differences of like how guys play and how women play. It's awesome.
Jeff
no,
Richard at Chaosium actually said something very similar to that when we were in Kit, and we were all kind of sitting around. We were talking about the difference of when you have women at the table versus when you don't, and all of them, these titans, like I think Luke was amongst them. It was like all these titans sitting around him, and they're like, yeah, we want them there.
Yeah, absolutely. They bring a different form of the game to it. And it's crazy to think that, because like a lot of people are like, oh, I've never had a woman at my table. I'm like, why not? Like, they bring such a different feel to the game. Especially when, and I don't know how, if this is going to sound like extremely bad or not, but like, especially when there's no bars on either side. Like, that is the most crazy thing I've ever had to experience, because it's like, you have no restrictions, go. And the chaos just erupts. And I'm just like, ooh, I will sit back and just let you both argue forever, and then I'll just sit here and wait for the next time to change the scene.
I love it. I'm all for the chaos. Jerry says she'll tell this to everyone and pre-warn my tables. Oftentimes I will get put with the table that we feel is like most quiet, or she'll purposely put me on the pros versus the antis, because I prefer the antis because it just is naturally more chaotic that way. But she'll put me on the pros because she's like, Tiffany, any table you're at, you somehow corrupt all of their minds to now be chaotic. Like your table just suddenly is like, I'm gonna flip this table. Like they're like, you just somehow imbue the chaos into everyone.
Yeah.
It's
nothing wrong with that.
I love it. I want to be
yeah.
Yeah,
so
that's amazing.
as a publisher, writer, game designer, what are top 3 tips you can give Nicole as she's starting her journey?
Oh man.
Oh, thanks for posing that question for me. That was so nice. Get out my notepad.
Yeah. What I often tell people is just keep writing. That's you think that's like a very simple one, but oftentimes we get really discouraged as creatives as a project gets frustrating, especially when the bridging starts to happen, or the editing, and the more critical portion of it. You just have to keep doing it. If you stop, if you tell yourself I'll do it later, I don't have time, it starts to die. So just don't ever stop. Just if it's 1 word to 1,000 to 20,000, whatever you could do in a day, do something. And it doesn't have to be on the project. You just have to write, whether that's copy for a website or your Instagram post, or if that's in a journal, or a side project, random craziness that just comes out of your brain, just write something, because the moment you stop, it'll die. Um,
Yeah, I love that. That actually like resonates a lot with something that I haven't started yet, but I'm going to soon, which is like I want to make sure I write something every day. And for me that needs to be more than like an Instagram caption
yeah,
because I do that every day anyway, and it's kind of like on autopilot at this point,
right.
right? But
That
like
is
I
it.
want to write something creative every day, and it's not always going to be related to a project I'm doing, but I just want to get something out to kind of like keep that momentum building. So,
Yeah, I do it, do it. Whatever it is, put it on paper.
And
um, uh, for ideas, as creative people, we have 1,000 of them, and they will never stop. You
mhm.
will never run out of ideas. There will never be a shortage. But the important thing is you need to write them down first and foremost. You will
Yes.
forget them, no matter who you are. I think I have a really great memory. I still will forget ideas. You have to put them down, put them somewhere safe, whether that's on a computer or sticky notes, as I do. I wake up randomly in the middle of the night and sleeping Tiffany,
Mhm.
magically perfect in line on a sticky note, is able to write in pitch black and tell me the stories that I came up with while I was sleeping.
That's
Um,
impressive.
yeah, she's crazy. I don't know.
Sleeping Tiffany is crazy. Got it.
She's insane. But I keep those sticky notes for future projects because also not every idea is worth working on. Not every
Mhm.
idea is worth the effort, time, and just overall stress of doing it, or thinking about it. You have to, one, feel very passionate. That is like
Mhm.
rule number one, is you have to be passionate. If you're not passionate about the story, you're never going to finish it. Everyone thinks, oh, well, if I just write to market. Those writers often, it is not their best work. It is
Mhm.
also either poorly done or in the sense of it doesn't say anything. It's not a truth. It's not talking about something that any person could resonate with. It's just there to exist because they wanted to write for market. Some are very good at it, like that is a
Yeah.
talent. But
Mhm.
overall, the experience is, if you're not passionate about it, you're not going to finish, and it's not going to be the quality that you want. The second part of putting ideas away is that sometimes, just like a wine, it needs time to ruminate. You may have
Mhm.
the shell of something, and but if you try to force it because you are passionate about it, but you can't nail it yet, you're gonna do it a disservice, and you're gonna end up having to just redo all the work anyway.
Mhm.
Because once it
Yeah.
does hit you, you're gonna be like, damn it, I already wrote 50,000 words, and now I have to restart this whole thing.
Oh, that would hurt me so bad.
I've done
Oh
it.
God.
Oh
Don't do
my
it, guys.
goodness.
Don't do it. You
Mm-mm.
have to let it
No.
ruminate. If you can't force it. Doesn't matter how passionate you are. If the story's not coming to you, you have to sit with it until it does. Um,
Right.
the third part is stay inspired. That is another hard part, is even though you are passionate, even though you have that idea nailed down, and you've sat with it, and it's speaking to you in every way, the muse is flowing through you. Staying inspired is also very hard, and ways to do that is by getting into character, by experiencing the life that your character lives. Like, I learned how to do archery and ride a horse. And
That's amazing.
I got a personal trainer to learn how to push myself to my limits. I ran on a treadmill until my legs literally gave out because I wanted to know what it felt like to just exhaust myself. I took Taekwondo to be able to learn fighting techniques that,
Ooh.
a woman would need when going up against a bigger man. I learned these things to keep myself inspired while writing, And so doing stuff like that, I find, is just a really healthy and exciting way to do that. So that's my second piece of advice for you.
I
It's all
no, I love that. I love that. I'm just like soaking it in. I love it. Also, I just want to live your life. So, you know.
So I will tell you
I'm
that's
joining
actually a
anytime.
very common thing for writers. Or not Tolkien. R.A. Salvatore said the same thing when he created not the elves, it was the quicklings. He had to take 3 weeks, or he did like a month-long fencing class so that he understood how they fought properly when they were in combat. Um, Using your experiences definitely seem to be just amazing ways to tell a story. And I think a lot of us use those habits that we get throughout the years as part of our stories, no matter what. Um,
Naturally, it'll
yeah,
naturally view itself into writing because that our brains are incapable of creating
Yeah.
people from scratch, and we will write people we know, whether that's portions of different people sewn together. It is all from experience, and it's hard to not write yourself into your stories in some aspect or another. There will
Mm,
always be pieces of the creator inside their work. It's a signature. It's a part of that.
it is. It
Mhm.
definitely is. I love that.
Yeah, that's how they
Great
could
advice.
tell Emily Dickinson's poems.
Mm,
They because her voice was so unique that they knew that the anonymous publications of her work and in letters that she had sent to all these different people in her life, they could accredit those to her because it was her signature. It
mm,
resonated that they were like, that's an Emily Dickinson poem. They knew it, and
yeah,
all of us creatives have that.
I love that.
yeah. So here's an interesting question then, because this is something I always am curious about, and you both can answer if you'd like. Um, Game of Thrones really focuses a lot on food. Like they get very detailed on what food looks like and how it tastes and all that.
Mhm.
What is your hyperfixation when you're writing? What is the one thing you love to write about more than anything within your story?
Mm,
Mine's feeling for sure, like
Okay.
touching, because for me that's my biggest sensory thing. They say smell is most common for a lot of people in terms of the scent, the sense.
First catch.
Yeah, that allows them to remember things and correlate with things. But for me, touch has always
Hmm.
been like that for me, and I can even feel things in my dreams,
Mhm.
uh, because I that's how my brain connects imagery and vision and all of that. Like it's through my hands, so and my feet. I can write with my feet. That's a fun fact about me. Um,
that's cool.
I was like,
I
that's
need a
nifty.
demonstration, probably, maybe not right now, but that's your homework to post to your story.
Uh, but through my appendages, I'm able to remember things. So I that correlates a lot in my books is
Mm,
people touch stuff.
yeah.
Yeah,
Well,
no, that's
it's
really good.
sometimes hard to describe, right? Like what you're feeling when you're touching something, because the texture, the rigidity, all that stuff, the temperature, it all is there's something to it. Um, so, what about you, Nicole? What's the one thing you like to focus in on?
The feeling thing really resonates for me a lot, especially when I'm writing stuff that's like more on the adult end than the
Hmm.
kid end. But I feel like on the kid side, what I'm most like interested in and fixated on is like kind of like the feeling and the relationship vibe underneath the dialogue. So,
Ooh.
like, this is one of the things that I worked a lot with my illustrator on is like, what's the body language and like, what's the like, how comfortable are these characters with each other? Because the like, worst kept secret in the world is that my day job is I'm a therapist. I'm a professional counselor by trade and education.
Huh.
So I'm always like honed in
Gives you
on
great
those little,
insight.
I know, right? So
Incredible.
no surprise that that's what I'm interested in,
I love
right?
Yeah.
Is
that.
like connection between people and how people are like reading each other in that moment. And I
Yeah.
think that's something that like definitely through an illustrated story you can show really well in a way that like all humans kind of get. Like they can kind of like sense it, even if they're not like really noticing what they're seeing, they can get the vibe of like, oh, this is how these people feel towards each other just based on like how close are they standing or like what kind of expression are they doing towards each other. So,
Subconscious view of things. Yeah. I talk about psychology in books and a lot of like on a lot of my panels is that we write it and
mhm.
we're intentional and sometimes intentional and how we describe things based off of psychology. And it does a lot to help the reader feel the emotions of the characters
Mhm.
or get a sense of the environment based off of that. I love that.
Yes, love it.
Sweet. So funny enough, you won't believe this. We are technically 5 minutes until happy hour.
Oh,
So
wow.
so that means we've talked for an absolute hour. Um, and
All
that
right.
means that at this point, if we have any questions from the chat, they can drop questions in the chat room on Twitch, and we will answer those. But we're also just going to keep asking questions because it's always fun. Once
Mhm.
the vibe starts to slow down, then we'll call it. But we've got another half hour as long as people are still having fun.
Yeah.
Um,
Mhm. I want to
and
know, I mean, you can answer this too, I guess, James, but I want to know like what you're reading right now or what you've read
Oh,
recently that you liked.
oh
oh,
my. Well, writing as much as I have, and I haven't been able to read all that much. But
Fair.
so I actually am a part of Wonders and Dragons. It's an anthology that I'm in,
I like
and it's all
dragons.
Pretty.
Midwest fantasy authors, and they're all like lead-ins or stories within the world of like their primary series. So like The Veil is my story that's attached to Limoria. It takes like a few thousand years before even the events of the series, but we get to see
Ooh.
how history kind of always repeats itself. You know, that lesson that we learn, and so in I got to read Justin Rose's story, Fairy Harvest, in there, which was pretty good. He writes a very Charles Dickens-esque,
Hmm.
very
Okay.
old-timey sound to his like cadence and tone of the book, and you know the his use of metaphor and trickster figures it reminds me a lot of Charles Dickens, I'd say, which I interviewed him about it. and I asked him about that, and he goes, yeah, I actually really do like Dickens. And I was like, it turns
Okay.
out. So I read that. That's like the last thing that I read. But I'm all over the board in my taste. Like uh I read a lot of science fiction and fantasy and horror. um I'm trying to think of what else I've read recently. I know it's on my list, but
Okay,
I
Okay.
what's the next thing on your list?
I want to read the Broken Fault Line series by Jerry Shepard, my business partner.
Ooh.
That like geopolitical hard sci-fi uh,
Ooh.
that takes place in like the 2900s or 2600s. Okay, it has two timelines in it, but we get to live in the world before the melt and after the melt, and the whole world essentially gets moved on to city ships in the futuristic timeline, and I'm enjoying it. I've read halfway through it, but life has been
Yeah.
difficult to read, like I said, so I haven't been able to finish it like I normally develop my books. But then
Two
after that,
200,000 words is
it's an acceptable excuse, right?
it's an acceptable excuse.
Yeah, that's fair. That's fair.
Yeah.
Yeah. but this is my next one after I'm done reading that series.
What?
This is
What is
Stargun,
it?
Stargun Messenger by Darby Harn. He is also an indie author that I get to see and hang out with at a bunch of events. So his stuff is also next on my list after I'm done with Jerry's. So I'm very excited when I can actually sit down and read. It's gonna be fun.
Yes.
I'm in 3 different TTRPG readings right now, so that's where
Yeah.
I'm sitting.
Yeah,
My fixation right now is this one.
the One Ring.
The One Ring,
Oh, yeah.
Moria specifically, because we're running in it right now.
But we're counting TTRPG books. Well, RuneQuest then is my last one.
RuneQuest is not open yet. Please don't tell Jeff.
There's a lot of lore, so you got a lot of backdating you need to do.
Yeah, I have RuneQuest. So, funny enough, he saw me at Genghis Khan in Colorado, and right after we spoke, he goes, "I want you to start running games for me." And I said, "Okay." I said, "You and I have been talking for years. Like, what do you want me to do?" And he goes, "I'm going to hand you 2 books, and you're going to read them." And I was like, "Okay." Not realizing that I had a carry-on bag and it was packed to literally the brim. I had 2 different full cosplays in them there on top of my regular clothes. Wasn't fitting it. I said, "Mail them to me." He goes, "No." I was like, "All right, fine, don't, whatever." I don't know what to tell you.
Need it right now.
Well, we got to Gary Con and I brought a lot more room for luggage because I had to bring stuff back for some friends and things like that. I had room. And he goes, "Can you take it now?" And I was like, "Sure." And he hands me the quick start guide for Pendragon and RuneQuest. And he says, "I need you to learn these." I was like, "Okay, thanks." It's like, I don't know what we're doing yet, but sure, why not?
Oh my gosh. What a homework assignment. Jeez.
Yeah.
Jeff will just be, and the funny thing is half the time, I love Jeff to death. Half the time when I talk to him, he's drunk. So it's the question is, does he remember what he said or not?
Yeah, I ain't gonna lie. Yes, he does.
Yeah, I know he does. That's the scary
memory,
thing.
yeah, his memory retention is absolutely insane. Which makes sense though. He
Mhm.
he can probably rattle off about the thousands of years of history, just like I can about
Yeah.
Limoria, but RuneQuest. But
Yeah,
like
yeah.
his stuff is all written, so it's
Yeah.
like committed and cemented.
Yeah.
You know,
Garantha is, I think, the world of
Yes.
RuneQuest, and goodness gracious, the amount of lore that thing has behind it.
Yeah.
So take
It's
Dungeons and Dragons, the last 50 years of Dungeons and Dragons, move it to the Bronze Age, and just write the same amount of material, and that's Garantha.
Yeah.
Oh, God.
Cool. It's so much.
Great
But it's
stuff.
so much fun. It's run under the BRP system, which I got to experience the first time this year. It was so cool. Actually, my first BRP game ran was by Claudia, so that was really awesome.
What a treasure and joy.
Oh,
to be able
amazing.
to play in a Claudia game, man.
Oh my goodness, amazing.
She's so good. I
When
got
we-
to play
so-
her Stripe one she did.
When you
It's
talk about what we were talking about earlier, researching for a game, this lady is top
True.
tier.
She comes prepped. and
She
prepared.
comes
Okay,
prepped, and when I'm
wow.
talking prepped, it's she only at least everything that I've heard so far, all of it is history based, and she dives into
What?
that point of history every time. So we had a Western
amazing.
campaign, and she had it down to knowing when the president was coming into the town, where the railroad tracks were at and finished, what each one of the town spots were, or each one of the maps were inside. It was nuts. There's not a single question I couldn't ask her that she wasn't like, "Give me 1 second." She flips through a page and she goes, "This." And I was like, "Oh, okay."
That is next level. Yeah.
It's next level.
Yeah,
She only runs, I think, like 1 game a year, but the amount of prep that she puts into that game is just next level. It's great.
Gosh.
love in those games for sure.
Yeah, it's definitely if you get out to one of the bigger cons and Chaosium is around, her games. The downfall is you got to be a part of the crew first, because she doesn't put any of her games on a like event table.
Oh,
They're
those are pick up.
invite only, get reached out to, things like that. So yeah.
And if you're offered, you accept.
You accept. You're like, oh, I've got a game already. You're like, no, never mind. It's Claudia's game. We'll just pass on whatever game I was running.
Yeah.
Another amazing female game master. Like, woo.
Yeah, I'm
Also
like, okay, I need to
very-
look this lady up now. Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I see.
Yeah.
Also, I got to play Call of Cthulhu and be in one of her games at Chaosium Con this year.
Yeah.
And it was
Was jealous. I saw all the pictures and was super jealous.
Yeah.
All the pictures.
should have been there. No.
I should have been there. I should have. Yeah. Trust me. I'm going to 6 conventions this year with a full-time job. Like, it's not a good
Yeah,
idea
that's a lot.
anyways. It's a lot
That's
for
a
me.
lot. Yeah. I
That is
mean,
a lot.
You did what? 42, you said?
46 was last year. Yeah.
46 conventions last year.
Oh my god, that's like
She-
every week.
Remember though, she's a vendor, so she's selling every week.
Okay, that's fair. That's fair. Yeah,
Yeah.
that makes sense.
On top
It's part of the job. It's the job.
Exactly. Yeah.
Yeah.
And producing 4 books last year.
Yeah.
And this year, I think I got like 30 on my docket. With also producing like 4 books. It was originally going to be 6, and then I got too many clients, and I was like, I guess I got to cut 2.
I guess I gotta cut.
I'm not gonna
I have
be-
clients now. I have money coming in now. Like, what? I don't need
Yeah,
to
I was
write.
like, I was like, maybe I need those more.
It's fine.
That's amazing.
So we do have a question. We have a question from Death Roll Dice, who we know. So, do you just write, or do you structure your stories with things like 3 acts or the hero's journey?
Most books are written with a 3-act structure. I feel that I'm trying to think of an example. I know there's one. John Clancy's stuff, I believe, is single act.
Yeah.
There's not much of a 3-act structure there.
So
But-
for us military guys who don't have a brain
Yeah.
anymore.
No, it's not that. He has flatline characters, which is perfect for what
Right.
he's fighting.
Oh,
And it's
absolutely.
great. It's great stuff. It's great. Oh my gosh, Bumpin. He's playing with his toys now. But it's great stuff, and but you'll find that most books will have a 3-act structure.
So what does that mean, though, is what I'm saying. Like, my brain,
Sure.
I did not do English at all in high school.
Sure. So think of it like a play.
Okay.
Right? So you have your opening act, you have your
I mean, is this like the elementary school thing, like opening act, climax, and ending? Like, is that what we're looking at?
Yeah,
Kind
it
of.
very similar to that, except that the 3rd act really starts on the climb, but all books have more climaxes than they do,
Right.
and, like, there's like 3 or 4 throughout a 3-act structure. Even still, they're just spaced out and typically just continue to build. They're peaks on a mountain, right? There's
Right.
not one peak. There's ones
Yeah.
that lead up to the summit, and there's a term that my high school literary teacher used, which was called ridging, which is like when you look at a mountain from an aerial perspective and you see the lines that run down the peaks of the mountain. Showcases the type of story that I tell in Limoria, which is they're all converging to a point. There is not one story that isn't interconnected with the other. They're all coming together for this summit, and so you get the perspective of the 3-act structure of a mountain landscape, right?
Right.
But as the series in its whole, you get to see the summit. You're right. You get to see how the ridging of how they all come together. So that's how I approach Limoria anyway.
Mhm.
I do in the future, I do have stories that are in the works, and that'll be published in the future. That'll be the hero's journey. And some may argue that the second of my series, the second book, would be a hero's journey, as he's coming into his powers and that he's a unique person and all this stuff in a world of crazy. And yeah, so I mean, there's different unique storytellings through that. Boss, stop it. He's just going at this toy.
Like, I need all the attention right
Like,
now, Mom.
I
Come
want
on.
to make
Yeah.
all the rustle noises.
Yes.
So,
Yes.
what about writing for children? Do you still use the 3-act story,
You
Nicole?
know, I don't ever intend to, but it kind of looks like I did.
Yeah,
I do
I think
it
it's
like,
natural.
yeah, it just naturally happens. It's never a thing that I intentionally do though. Like I definitely was really into like archetypes and like English class and all the like
Hmm.
literary stuff. And now I don't even remember the names of most of it because like, I left high school and went on to mostly study psychology and we don't talk about that stuff. So I think it's like buried in my subconscious somewhere, but I couldn't like tell you the fancy word for what I'm doing. It just kind of flows out in that way. But
I
like if
feel that's a lot
someone
of
that
people.
knew what they were doing were to analyze it, they would be like, "Oh yeah, she's definitely using the blah blah blah." And I'm like, "Yeah, sure I am."
Yeah,
Yeah. It's
yeah.
in there
I don't.
somewhere. I don't remember, but it's
I don't
there.
know what it's called, but maybe I'm doing it. I don't
Right.
know.
Um, that's
Yeah,
that's interesting.
yeah. I feel like most writers, eventually it is just like that. You just write it naturally. I didn't look at Zalia or Renatus or, you know, uh, Ayla and be like, this is their archetype. I did do the Enneagram test for Zalia to see what number she was,
That's
and get
fun.
ideas on the personality, and things like that. And I interview my characters, to get a better inside grasp of who they are, uh, to a very deep, intimate level, so I can feel like I can speak their voice with authority,
Right.
um, but uh, I don't limit them to an archetype in my mind.
Mm,
The readers can give them one based off
Right.
of their perception and how they correlate and relate to the characters. But for me, as the bringer of life or creator, it is my job to simply just tell their story within their voice.
mm.
I know.
And cat needs love.
Yeah.
Cat needs love.
Cat needs all the loving.
He's
Yes.
very upset.
That's
But
a really interesting question, and one that I definitely agree with both of you on. Is I don't think like I don't have the know-how to be like that's what I'm doing, but I do feel the same way. It's like I did learn this once a long time ago, and I understand the
Right?
basic structure of writing, but at the same time, I'm like I kind of just let it flow and see where things
yeah,
work out. So, you know.
yeah.
Mhm.
Let's see if we have any other questions. Anybody else have any questions in the chat? Otherwise, we will do one more question on the dice roll, if that's always fun.
Ooh.
I
Ooh.
do feel bad though, because I wish we would have caught you last year. Last year was all about the character. So
Oh, yeah.
instead of the tavern being game masters and talking about how to play better games, we actually interviewed a player character every week in the
Oh, that's
tavern,
fun.
and it was a lot of fun.
Yeah.
Oh, that's cool.
Yeah, it was a lot of fun. Is there any things you like to do to connect your audience with your characters?
Ooh. Yeah. Um,
Give all the
I
tips.
yeah.
All the tips.
The tips. What I do oft I have playlists for them, like on Spotify.
Mhm.
That's on my website, so people can kind of get into their vibe and headspace. Because these are the songs that they would resonate to.
Mhm.
Their wonderful trauma that I put them through. But I also used to be a cosplayer. And so I love to showcase off that. Like someone made Zalia's bow in the book, like and gifted it to me in her book, and I've had people cosplay as the characters, but I showcase it and I talk about it and I engage a lot of times with the audience. And
That's
I
cool.
give glimpses a lot too of who these characters are. Like I talk about them like they're real people. and on different videos or in person.
Mhm.
Because I the difference with me is like I'm so forward with meeting readers because I'm there at conventions all the time. Like oftentimes they're purchasing the book from me.
Right.
Right.
And so like they, I've had people follow me to conventions to be like, or message me on Instagram or Facebook to be like, I read this and blah blah, and I engage with them, and I'm like, I'm so happy, or like, I ask them questions like, what did you
Right.
think?
What did you think about? Yeah.
Yeah. And so I feel like if I wasn't in person and talking about my books a lot, and I do a lot of panels, and where I talk about my books and talk about the writing process, I probably wouldn't have as engaged
Mhm.
readers where they love to make stuff. Also, art is a great connecting piece too. I have a lot of artwork around my books. I had at GaryCon, I had this guy who hasn't read my books, but saw the artwork of Zalia and read the back of the book, and in his time at GaryCon, drew her portrait and gifted it. It came back to gift it to me because he was
Wow.
inspired just by her regalness in the stained glass artwork that I have of her, and
Yeah.
reading the back of the like the synopsis of the story, and he was like, I really had a clear vision for this. um
Was it
so
just a
like,
guest or was it one of the actual artists?
he was a comic book artist for years, and he's like,
Ooh.
I wish I remembered the name, but it was literally the vendor hall was closing on the last day, and I was on the other side of the convention hall, and I got a call from our mentee that was running the booth for us because we had a,
Mhm.
and so I just started booking it like to run from like where the like back ballroom was all the way to
Oh
the,
my goodness.
and I was like, woo, 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 like
Yeah.
rushing as quick as I could to meet and like obtain it. So it was like a really
Yeah.
brief action that like I got a picture with him and the art and everything, but it was like it was such a brief, unfortunate interaction. Like I would
Yeah.
spend a lot more time with him, but everything was
That's
shutting
so
down,
cool.
and it was
Yeah.
like, thank you so much. Like
Yeah.
that, like that was
And to
like,
kind of give you an idea, Nicole, so ballroom's in like top floor or like second floor, and then you're gonna run about a half a football field to get to the vendor.
Oh my
I just booked
gosh.
it. I was like,
It's the Gary Con is built in this giant resort, but for some
amazing.
reason the vendor hall is kind of disconnected. So you've got to usually go out the door and down a like complete street in order to get there. And she was on
Oh
the other
no.
side of the normal
Yeah.
hotel. Yeah, no, that's a truck.
I made it though.
There
I
you
think they
go.
clocked me at like 3 minutes or something. I put
Nice.
She's like, and that's how I broke the world record. Like,
Like that sounds like good inspiration for your characters. You're like running for your life there. Jeez.
yeah, you
Yeah,
said you
well, I
needed
had
the
experience.
you said you needed that experience of like what it felt to be completely out of breath. There you
Dude,
go.
I was like, you're meeting me like this. Like I
Yeah,
don't even talk to him. Like I
yeah.
think he come by on his own, like
Reddit,
did it, and then like was like, I wanna
meet the
meet this
artist or meet the
person.
writer. Yeah,
And I think he
That's
did buy the
amazing.
book.
yeah,
But it was like I was like, I was flabbergasted. I was like,
right.
it's crazy. Thank you.
Yeah, that's crazy. That's awesome though. I've only had one set of fan art been done for me, and that was from like our first campaign that we ever ran. And I was like, ooh, that's
Yeah.
new. Never had that happen before.
That's so
But yeah,
cool.
it was really cool. And then of course, Death Roll Dice did Professor Silverleaf, who is a recurring character in my campaigns. Normally he's a like underground overlord boss, but he's gonna teach at the academy this week. So that's where
Really?
he's
That
at.
makes me scared now.
That's why he's the field professor.
Right.
So
Okay.
yeah, no, Zafon Silverleaf has been in my games for almost 5 years now, and he shows up in every
Oh,
game. And he is always the one that he's the third. He's not the villain usually, but he's not the hero. And he
Right.
always just likes to get his hands in everything.
Love
His inspiration is I was watching way too much Blacklist,
it.
and he became my Red Reddington. So he just manipulates everything. And he has done so to my players. He's done my NPC. Like, it's been bad. He's a wonderful character.
I love
Um, he's so much fun. I had a tip. I was probably a few years into running my first games
Mhm.
years and years ago. Goodness gracious, I'm not even gonna put my date. um, that a guy who is also running games, but he is probably a good 15, 20 years on me. He said, the next time you watch a movie that has nothing to do with fantasy, those are the characters you want to start looking at. The
Yeah.
farther they get away from the genre, the better. And I was like, I never thought of that. And now I do it all the time. Like,
I like that.
yeah.
I
Because
like
like if you're trying to write a fantasy book, you go watch like a documentary drama, or even as goofy as you could say is like even like reality TV, and like something just catches your brain. You're like, okay, how do I take this personality and add a fantasy element to it? Because it gives that immediate connection to something nostalgic. Like somehow it connects with people, even though you're not
real.
sharing the character, but it doesn't give enough nostalgia that they can pick out who the character is. So
No, I like that a lot, and I'm in full agreement to that. When I first decided to, like, because I originally wasn't going to publish Light of Evanora, which is book 1, right? I wrote it because I wanted to.
yeah,
I had
you're
no
like,
intention of this
this
being
is
my
mine. You don't get to see it.
I didn't think it was a reality, to be honest. That your entire life you grow up being like, get a realistic job, and do something with your life. And
Yeah.
being a creative is always one of those things that you're like, it's so unrealistic. What are you doing? You're gonna destroy your life,
Yeah.
Yes.
But
Brandon Sanderson is one of the richest people in the world, and all he does is
Right.
write books.
exactly.
One of my favorites, like that was the other thing I was going to say is like, other than those, I'm doing a lot of audiobooks because I don't have time to. But I've done the entire Mistborn series over the last couple of months.
It's so good.
And it's so good. I'm starting the Elantris, or the Avantris, what's it called? Elantris or Elantris? So I don't know. It's his other series. But that's really good.
Pronounce it. I see the word though.
What's that?
I don't know how to pronounce it, but I see the word.
Yeah, I got it. Yeah.
I think you got it.
I think you got it,
Yeah.
but I've never heard it spoken, so I don't know.
Yeah. And then like I know, here we go. Everybody's gonna make fun of me. I'm gonna accept it. I devoured The Fourth Wing, like devoured that series.
Okay.
But I'm a huge dragon fan, like massive.
It's a good book.
It's a good series. It's a really good
acclaimed
series.
for a reason. Yeah. Like
no spoilers. I haven't read it. I want to wait till they're all done because I can't handle the suspense having to wait.
Yeah.
Yeah. I will say cliffhangers are brutal. Cliffhangers are brutal.
I don't want to be in that suffering boat. I don't want to.
Yeah.
I just don't want to start until I can finish because I'm going to sit down over a weekend and just read all of it.
Yeah. So, and then I'm starting to dive into some of the, and I will say this is more difficult than I had expected. Some of the harder reads in Tolkien. Ooh, that's a truck. Like,
you want a hot take?
I read a chapter and then I put that book down for a month. Like,
you want a real hot take? And
Sure.
I will tell you this. Majority of authors will agree with this take.
Yeah.
Some are not brave enough to say it out loud, though.
Yeah, go for it.
Tolkien's overrated.
Oh, yeah.
He broke the ground for fantasy, but no fantasy is written like Tolkien for a reason.
Yeah.
And that is because it died in the age that it was born. And like people love it still. And some people are like, this is that inspires me. Great. It is a beautifully written thing, but there
Yeah.
is a reason why no one goes on for 10 pages to describe a mountain
Right.
or a few paragraphs to describe a tree.
Yeah.
Mm.
It's because
Girl, preach it. Preach
there
it.
is no
Yes.
retention and there's no like how do you sit for
We
that long?
we live in a world where you can't get past 30 seconds off of TikTok before
People
somebody
can't
flips
even
through
read right
something.
now. It's so hard
Like,
to sit for a book.
yeah. Yeah.
I love that hot take. I will get on that immediately because I love Lord of the Rings, but I hate Tolkien's writing style.
Yeah.
The story, excellent. The
Yeah.
movies that
Right?
Peter Jackson made, excellent.
Excellent.
His writing, hate it.
No.
Yeah. I can deal with I love reading the Lord of the Rings. I'm good with that one.
Mhm.
See, I like The
Like,
Hobbit
and I
over
like The
The
Hobbit.
Hobbit's good. The
Like,
Hobbit's
I
not
like
too
both
much.
of those.
Yeah.
Silmarillion is brutal.
Bible. It is literally
It
a
is
history
a history book.
Like,
And then the
it-
problem is that if you start to read some of his other stuff outside of the Lord of the Rings set, it's even more historical based, and it's just this exhaustion. But I will say it is one of the few things I'll do is I'll pick up a book of his and I'll read a chapter and then I'll go, okay, what can I learn from this specific chapter today? And then I'll pick up another chapter in like 3 weeks. Like I can't
Yeah,
devour
that's
devour
smart.
his stuff in that large amounts of
Yeah, yeah.
content. Because you're right. It's like reading a history book. Or a Bible. Like it doesn't flow the same way, and it's just nothing but words.
right. I think
A lot
what
of words and not a lot of content.
right.
Yeah.
Yes. It's just words on a page,
Yeah.
essentially. But what I will say, if nowadays the in place of that is what we have world books, right? Which are
Right.
basically used for TTRPGs, right?
Right.
And Limoria is getting made in a setting, right? And so there's going to be a world book where I get to dump all of
All of
the crazy knowledge and
the
lore
details and the lore and the
I can't put
extras.
in the book because
Yeah.
it's too
Because
much. Like,
nobody wants to hear it.
Right?
no, I do have an index in the back of all my books where like it'll explain things further and in more detail
Yeah.
and a little bit of the lore drop if
I love
people
that.
want it. Like it's there if you want a
Yeah.
better explanation on some of these things, but it's not necessary to understand.
Right. And that makes perfect sense.
Yeah, but
Well,
that was his world book back in the day.
let's do a quick roll. You've got a D12. So if you've got a D12 for me, Tiffany, roll your D12.
Let me pull it up.
I
Oh,
mean,
my hand is
everybody
back.
has a die laying around them. Like, I don't know what it is. We all have
Right.
them.
I know. I'm like, I've got a whole bag.
Got
right
it.
here.
Yeah.
Let's see.
I have a whole box right next to me. Like, I got it.
4.
4. Ooh. All right. This is the last question of the night, and it will be used, of course, for all of our friends out there in the ether. Are there any homebrew rules that you recommend that you use at your table?
Oh man.
You only have to give one if you only think of one.
Okay. I am a big fan of, and I think every GM has given into this request of mine, but I like to play very specific, like I like my race to mean something more than just stats. So like the Eldrin, for example, in 5e,
Yeah.
and the 4 seasons that it can change into, I correlate that with the personalities. And so like I like that things like that where I'm allowed to really embody the uniqueness of a race or a class. In terms of that, and I feel like GM should do that because it makes it more fun to role play. Like if I'm in autumn, I might like leaves are falling and I more go with the flow because like
Yeah.
things are always changing. But then if I'm in my summer, I'm like a hard ass bitch, like she's like I'm being a brat.
Right.
I love it.
I need to be doing something, going out, having fun, partying, doing whatever, right? And then if it's winter, she's more like, think Winter Soldier, like she's
Yeah. Like,
from her emotions and like dead inside. And then, spring, she's like
happy.
positive, Yeah, overload. It's just like, oh my God, like excited about everything. Life is great. And we get to celebrate in every aspect. And I like when the homebrew part is just being able to play into those things that aren't in
Mm,
the set that, like technically, no, that's not how that that race works. But I get to play in that because they're willing to allow me to homebrew the race or homebrew a class to make it more unique and individualized to the story that I want to tell with that character. Um, and that would be my tip is allow your players to be unique and break the rules just a little bit in terms of that.
I love that tip.
just a little bit. Well, that's a great
Or maybe a
place for
lot.
us to, or maybe a lot. Who knows? That's a great place for us to end tonight. Thanks, Tiffany, for coming on for Tavern Talks. It's been a blast to understand kind of a breakdown of the writer's story and like how this all works. Because I know there are people out there, including myself and Nicole, who are either just getting into writing or are starting their first big project, and maybe they needed that little bit of inspiration to just do it. Um, real
We're
quick,
doing it.
I'm
We're
gonna
writing something every day.
we're gonna write
Yeah.
something every day. I'm gonna try. The amount of time I have is
Literally do
about this
anything.
much.
Put words down. It doesn't
Words on
matter.
paper.
Words on paper.
All right. Goal for the week. Every day. Words on paper.
Every day.
Yes,
All right.
every day.
Real quick. I'm gonna toss this over to Nicole this way. And she's gonna tell us what we have going on Saturday.
Okay, yeah. So Saturday, super exciting. We'll be back together. Maybe Tiffany will join us in the chat. I don't know. We'll see. But we are doing a special Etheria one shot that James is running as his character he was describing earlier, the Professor Silverleaf. And myself and a few other people who have been really integral in bringing Etheria and my book project to life are going to be playing together. We're playing some third-year students from the Heroes Academy of Etheria, and we are going to be going on a grand little one-shot adventure live on Twitch.
Live on
And it's
Twitch.
gonna be a charity event as well, so you'll be able to donate to the Critical Role Foundation also.
Yep. It's gonna be at 1:00 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, right here on our channel. So
Yes,
Heck yeah.
yeah, we're
super
excited.
exciting. It's gonna be a fun time.
It's gonna be a lot of fun. And Death Roll Dice has we have some ideas. We have ideas.
Yeah, I'm just gonna show up and play. I don't know why I did the intro to that because I probably know the least about it out of everyone. But I mean, in all fairness, I guess it is my world.
This is
so.
your world. Yes. And we are
But I'm
playing in
not
it, and I'm
running it, which is amazing.
honored to be a part of this project and to help out with bringing this world to life, especially for kids. Having a bunch of my own that are in this time frame of their lives where TTRPGs are starting to become exciting and interesting. This really resonated with me, and I asked Nicole if she would be willing to let us do a one shot with in her world, and she was very happy to do so. So, real quick, just shout out the rest of our sponsors for the evening. Monument Studios, who does all of our music and sounds in the backgrounds. For any of our shows, you can use the code word Misfit to get an extra 30% off or 3 months free with their new Fantasy Plus app. If you're looking for new dice because you didn't have any ready for you when you got to roll the dice on my show, go to Canadian Dice, 15% off by using Misfit 15. And if you're looking for cool shirts in Misfits logos or Beaker logos, go over to DungeonGrandmaster.com. All right. Tomorrow we return to Beaker. He will be that guy over there, not Nicole. And he's going to be running, I think he just finished his last Gundam. So I don't know what he's doing next tomorrow, but he'll have something, some sort of project, some sort of model or painting that he'll be working on over there. And then Saturday, like Nicole said, we come on out. We're coming up with ideas of how you as the audience can actually interfere with the game, which, yes, I love it.
It's gonna be chaotic.
And it's going to be chaotic. It's gonna be great.
As it should be.
It's gonna be great. I'm putting a bunch of third-year students into their first real-world mission, and I can't wait. It's gonna be so cool.
It's natural.
And I think we're keeping it pretty kid friendly, right? So if you
absolutely
have kids, they
kid
can
friendly.
watch too. Yeah,
Kids can watch. Yep. We're gonna keep it kid friendly. Zafan is going to have very proper, very poised English, and not, you know, the trash mouth that I have as a bartender. And who knows? We might even have a funny thing that happens if any of the parents get attacked by children, that something happens in game, because that'd just be fun. So, because I know mine does it.
That will happen.
And yours will do it. So, and I don't know who else is going to be in there that's going to have kids running around, but it'll be a lot of fun. And of course, it's for a charity, so please come out and support the kids. Yeah, that's it. Thank you all for coming to hang out with us. This is Last Call. I'm out of drinks. I'm sure everybody else is as well. So this is Tavern Talks. We'll see you guys all next week for another episode. Have a good night.
Bye.